Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to our policy and projects meeting for Wednesday, the 18th of June on this big full light up morning. Welcome to those online. Lou, welcome, Lou. We'll open with our karakia tīmatanga. Great. Yeah.
It's really sing it.
Yes, apologies. I have three apologies from Councillor Brian Della, Councillor Darrell Williams, and Councillor Fraser Payne. We have a mover. Thank you, Councillor Cherry Campbell, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gallen. In favour? Against? Carried. Okay, conflicts of interest declaration. Any conflicts of interest? No. Public forum. Welcome to the table, Graham. How you doing?
Going to get some photos put up. Yep, that's our first one. Out there at the moment, like this morning's a good frosty day. That water turns to ice. On page 20. Page 32 of the contract, bridge inspections, saying that accurate bridge end reflectors, cleaning of signs and markers, handrails, guardrails, condition of paint, condition of deck drainage, cleaning of decks, and clearing drainage holes. Well, that photo there just about shows everything isn't getting done in the contract. And there's probably more than 12 months worth of dirt and stuff on the bridge. So when the water goes under the seal, then the concrete will expand because the steel work will go rusty and it makes concrete open up. So the life of the bridge will not exist. So that will cost more money to repair or replace the bridge.
Sorry, where is that book?
That's out just past Rocky Hills.
Thank you.
Just before you get to Te Oriole. And then if you carry on further out onto the road, a lot of end reflectors, when you come back in the dark, you can't even see them. So it's a good chance there's an accident because there's no street lighting. Someone's going to get hurt or killed. And it's in the contract to make sure it's happening. That's a picture I took of a culvert last week. And that's basically inspected every 2 years because it says it on the page. If they get done every 2 years, and then 5 metres either end of an inlet and outlet is supposed to be cleaned, and you can see that one there hasn't. And there's another picture of a culvert. You want to show that, please? That's 2 years, 4 months ago. So there's 1,845 culverts apparently in the district council. And I can probably say a third of them won't pass inspection because of different reasons.
You said that was 2 years and 4 months ago.
Yep.
That photograph was taken.
Yes.
And what it looks like now?
I just showed you the previous picture.
Oh, is that the same culvert?
Same culvert, same place. So the water's not actually running into the culvert at all now. Yep. Please. It's a job as a drop here. Now, you've got a bund around the top of the road, so the water can't run over the side of the road. So that material that's fallen down is fallen down in 2 weeks from the water in the sky. So what I'd say there is probably happened that the foundation's not solid. So it doesn't matter what you put on top of the foundation, it's not going to work. So that's really a job failure. And I spoke to Graham from Hungaroring, and he was saying, oh, we don't have time to go and inspect every job. So then on the top side of that road is a bank. Now, why wouldn't you carve the bank, bench the bottom side of the road like I've done, and throw that excess material over the side of the road, track roller, the road's wider, the edge of the road, not carting material away, so lower cost. I've done some rough numbers. Carting a truck and trailer load of metal out there is roughly $1,500 a load. So they would have used probably 15 truckloads, truck and trailer loads. So that's 22,500. The digger, probably $840 a day for the 8-ton machine they had there. That was there for 5 days, so that's $4,500. Truck hire for 2 trucks is $170 an hour. So that's $3,400 a day. Compactor 500, plastic materials 500, traffic control probably 18,000. Grand total probably 63. Now, if you cut the bank back, you got a 20-ton digger in. 8 hours is $1,700 times 3 days is 5,500. You'd only use probably 4 truck and trailer loads of metal because you're using a hard base. So that's down to 6,000. Traffic control probably 11,000 because it's only 3 days work. So you might do the job for 25,000 compared to say roughly 60,000, $70,000 job, and the job's failed. And then you've got Kieran Oliver 200 metres away in forestry that their job's to build roads. Why wouldn't they get a bigger machine and a company that knows what they're doing to take care of the job?
Thanks, Graham. Do we have any questions for Graham at this stage? We can come back and an opportunity to discuss public forum. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate you bringing this to light.
Have I got another minute or is time up?
No, your time is up. But thank you. Next, I welcome to the table, Mātua Jimmy Haipa. Yes. Welcome.
O tēnā koutou i te kaunihira o tēnei rohe. O tōku ingoa ko te mahata, my name is Jim Harter. And my purpose for being here this morning is to express the gratitude and appreciation to a section of this council, that is the Parks and Reserves, to the manager Clinton Tamiana Thompson and his team, Shane, Anthony, also to Cherie. And I'll speak on behalf of our family who've been involved with this part of the council, with that part of the council, over the last 2 years. I speak on behalf of my family and of our hapu. In the last 2 years, we've worked with this group of people. And we only met them 2 years ago. And we all at that time worked on help one another on a particular kaupapa or project that we were working with at the Ngā Tāpai Te Parau. And so we've built strong relationships with them. They've helped us to achieve what we needed to achieve in restoring old wahi tapu, urupas, out that end, out at Ngā Tāpai. They've helped us to revive history. They've helped us to be able to regenerate old kōrero that's been lost. And so there are some things that stand out for us. One of working with them, with Sheree and Clinton and their team, is their honesty, their integrity, and saying that they kept their promises. What they said they were going to do, they did it. They kept us informed all the way. We kept one another informed all the way. And they kept their word. That is part of their integrity. That's what mana is all about to me. So I'm here to express our gratitude to them. It's been an awesome relationship. We haven't finished yet. By Saturday afternoon, this Saturday afternoon, that will be stage 2. There's an unveiling, as you probably know, unveiling of the tomokanga at Ngā Tāpai. That place is an ancestral place for us at Te Rangawaiwe Tero. It's an ancestral place. And so we've been given the opportunity to revive, to restore, to regenerate. And Clinton and his team has helped us in a big way to do that. So being Matariki, that's something to celebrate. Part of Matariki is celebrating one another, and what we've done. It's about celebrating the works of our old people, of our ancestors. It's about celebrating and planning our future work. So the timing is perfect to come in here just to acknowledge to that part of this council. It's good to meet you all. We might see you out there on Saturday. That'll be good. But to see them working out in the field, this group of people working out in the field, out on the, with the people, out there with the people, that's where it's all at. It's working with the people, it's building relationships with the people. They've actually got a good name already around about the place, the Wairarapa. So yeah, I'm honoured to be here today to say thank you, Sheree. Being nui kia koe. Yeah, that's why I'm here. So thank you for the spot. Thank you for this moment. Tēnā rā koutou katoa.
Jimmy, do we have any questions for Matua?
Thank you for coming and sharing with us. It's good for us to hear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to hear. Good things. Was reading just the other day how Wellington just going down the Googler, their faith in the councillors there is down to like 27% or something. This is good news.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, move on to item 5, which is discussion of the public forum. Some discussion on what's been raised in the public forum. Do you want to start with what Graham's raised? And
any commentary first from Graham? I just, Johannes, a little bit of concern around culverts for a while, as you know. The Snake Gully Hope Road culvert, which was similarly not identified by Ruamahanga Roads as a need of attention, was in that state for about 4 years and just steadily got worse until I actually put in the service request and drew attention to it. Now, your team responded really quickly, and the work they've done has held up against the stormwater that's come through from in the foothills, and it's doing really well. But I do worry that it takes me to raise a service request on a contract matter that should be routine. And it's not just there. If I go down Hardinga Road, the number of those reflector posts that are down, and those culverts, as we all know, are narrow because the road's narrow, and the abutments are quite firm. There is just, I often worry that someone who doesn't see a reflector at night moves to let an oncoming vehicle go through, as we all do, and gets it wrong and hits an abutment. Because, my only request is that just have a conversation with people and that aspect of the contract, because those photos aren't good. It's just, I think the rating team has made massive step forwards. It really has. But there are some areas in there which I think just are a bit of a niggle, and particularly those bridges. So if you just keep an eye on that for us.
I mean, there's further in the actual roading report further on, there's talk about bridges, which
I see that.
More discussion around that side of things. But again, Graham, I appreciate you coming in and actually highlighting these things out. It's what needs to be done, whether it's through a service request and whether it's kept in front of us by coming in and showing us. It certainly highlights to me different things that are happening, and whether we need to look at things differently or ask our roading team to look at things differently. I'm not a professional roading engineer. I can't tell the roading team how to do their job and so forth. We just hope that they do their work that they are contracted to do in the best possible way, with cost effectively as well. So
It's in black and white. I've also here. So,
Johannes.
If I can just comment, thank you, Edmund. So I acknowledge that there are issues like that across the wider network. I also acknowledge that we have a contract with a contractor. The team is working with that contractor. There's some parts of the contract where they deliver it in excellence, and some aspects of the contract that the team is working on them to improve. At the same time, we have a constrained budget, so we at any time, regardless of which asset we're considering, there's more faults that we can repair at any one time. So we always prioritize. I'm not saying that it's okay to leave something for multiple years, but there's always a competing we're always managing and juggling priorities. What I will say is I will take the comments on board, and we will continue to work with the roading contractor to improve the level of service and make sure that our ratepayers gets value for money, and we maintain a safe operating network.
Thanks.
I sort of get a lot of farmers come in and they've cleared culverts themselves because they said weeks from going past and it's collapsed into the culvert, got to shovel it out and clear it themselves, But they say, I noticed, like there's only in the current budget for is a bit insufficient. It's hard to, yes, you've got about how many people have you got, how much time have you got, how much money have you got. It's trying to get it all work together. And as Graham says, and the farmers say to me, collapsed culverts, something all running across the road. Someone's got to do it, but it says only so much time, so much money. You've got to spread it around.
Yeah, I just want to say that on the positive side, It does concern me that the roading contractors themselves don't pick up some of the stuff in their routine inspections that I know, and you've got this quick response team. I got to say though, that when this comes through as a service request, the response is pretty swift, and it has been continuously. And I guess that's sort of a case of ensuring that people out there understand how to use the service request port and get that information with those photographs in on it. But it does, and I do accept, particularly in spring when there's a lot of John Deere tractors on the road and a lot of baleage being done and a lot of haymaking being done, your white markers get wiped out frequently, and that cost, just continues to escalate. Get that. But they should be picking up some of that stuff more frequently. But again, it's probably, a time refresher for the comms team to get that service request information out there, how to use it, because I personally found the service request responses very swift and delivering good results. So maybe we can tidy up on that side.
I agree with you because I put one in for Anderson's line and it was like I got a response back within hours.
Yeah.
Of it being investigated.
I think that's been reflected in our no open tickets with our service requests, that shows council are responding to our service requests. But my only thing that I would ask is maybe I know we've had a workshop on our roading before, but for me it's probably getting an understanding of the general maintenance and so forth that is included in the contract that should be performed year on year, annually. How does that sit alongside the work that they do under the budget, like the resealing? And I'm not sure if I'm putting this across the right way. It's just when they agree to do the contract, is there certain maintenance that they have to do year on year, and then they do the other work that is within budget? Is kind of what I'm asking.
So majority of the majority of the contract is measure in value. So even though there's things that we want to do on certain frequencies, they are all limited by the overall budget. So for measure in value, meaning that you get paid per culvert that you clean. Even if we ask them to clean 10 culverts, they will claim 10 culverts and we'll pay them for 10 culverts. So this is not there's no fixed price items in the contract. For instance, if you think about grading, we determine the routine at which roads are graded, and when there's certain activities and the frequency needs to be increased, we then give that instruction, but we pay per kilometer that gets graded. So if we increase the frequency of one road, we'll drop the frequency on another because the budget's finite. And then I'll probably just a comment. They do miss a lot of things, but in every month if you look at the number of things that they pick up and repair and maintain that you would never hear about because it's been done, that outweighs the things that's not prioritized or not noticed quite significantly.
If you had an open budget, it'd be a whole lot easier.
Oh, that would be so easy. Open checkbook, we'll make it shiny.
Right, so.
So you've got a budget, and you're saying, like, if you had really wet spring, lots of block culverts, and you prioritise that, then you've got to take it off budget somewhere else.
So within the roading budget, and it aligns with NZTA and the working categories. So some budgets, so we've got different budget lines for drainage maintenance, for pavement maintenance, pavement renewals, there's some strict rules around what you can and can't use budgets and where you can supplement the budget from one to another. But yes, there's a maintenance budget, and our maintenance activities, whether it's planned or reactive, comes from that one budget. The opportunity of it, or the alternative, is we can come to council and say we want unplanned expenditure to increase the budget. However, it's unlikely that we would get subsidy for that budget, so it will be 100% council funded. So we are constrained with the budgets that we have. So we do the best that we can with those budgets, and we already take a high risk approach in terms of the way that we deal with dropouts and the emergency works. We don't go gold plated on that, so we're trying to get a sensible medium between doing what's geotechnically sound, but also not overcooking it. So we try and be pragmatic in the way that we do. So if there's an opportunity to cut back a corner, then we do that. Where we can use, where the material is suitable to use, we do reuse it. But for a lot of those times, some of that material is not that suitable. So we're trying to balance that as well and just make our dollars go a bit further.
Is there any tension between us and South Wye in terms of getting these things done? In other words, does the contractor have sort of limited resource, and sometimes they apply it to places that we wouldn't prioritise?
I think it comes in swings and roundabouts, and swings and roundabouts. When we had the storm event in 2022, most of the damage was on the Furrow Road. So we drew to Carterton, got all the attention. A few weeks ago, when we had that high tide down Cape Palliser, all of the attention was drawn there. If you take over a long period of time, then I think we spend both budgets equally, so we don't underspend the budgets, we get the work done. But it really depends on what's happening on the network. And like I said, it comes in swings and roundabouts. Currently, I think it works out okay. Where the resources spread okay.
I just wondered whether Johannes may be able to discuss the difference that we have between a contract with Ruahanga Roads and a set of performance metrics and a budget that may or may not be able to fulfill all of those performance metrics, and how we manage that, which I think is potentially where Graham is concerned. We have a performance metric and we aren't achieving it, and why aren't we achieving it?
Thank you, Jeff. So the KPIs for the contractor in the contract is more focused on non-financial performance. So the way they're programming, the timing in which they present, the way in which they respond to instructions from the roading manager, and then quality of works, those kind of things. There's no KPI to deliver a volume of work that exceeds the budgets that we have.
Chief, we talked more about that in 7.8. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Did anyone want any discussion on Matua Jamini by Tata? So, as long as we note those in our minutes.
Just that it was really refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see the relationship that Clinton Cherie and other members of council built with local Hapu. Right, item 6, confirmation of the minutes. I'm happy to move that the minutes of the Policy and Projects Committee meeting held on 9th of April 2025 are true and correct. Do we have a second? Councillor Lawrence, thank you.
Something today.
All in favour? Do we have anything to? Because you all agreed. Very good. Okay, reports, 7.1, community grants and funding framework and policy. Yes. Thanks.
I'm Morena Chato. I'm really pleased to be able to be here today and bring forward this report for the committee's consideration and adoption. I'll take the report as read, but I'd just like to highlight a couple of points as a refresher for you. So this new document has been developed to better organise, communicate and align our funding programs with CDC's strategic objectives. As you're aware, we administer several community grant streams which play a vital role in supporting local groups and CDC to deliver outcomes both on our annual long-term plans and our strategies and action plans that are a result of those. Community grants are increasingly of need in our community, and we have a lot of interest and a lot of people that are desiring and needing those funds. We also have an increasing variety of funding opportunities, and so we recognise the need to streamline and better communicate how these grants work. You remember last year that we held a workshop in November to explore the idea of consolidating our approach to community funding. The result is this document, which is our community grants and funding framework and policy, which is a unified, easy to understand document that combines our eligibility criteria, the application processes, policy guidance, and the purpose of each funding stream. And I think it's important to note that this was developed with a range of people's input and feedback. So we had your input as elected members, we had feedback from applicants and recipients of grants, and we also conducted a desktop review around councils in New Zealand just to explore best practice and align with relevant strategies and the legislation that guides our work. So we've done quite an extensive amount of work to make sure that this document is fit for purpose and that it does capture all of the voices as well as all of our requirements as local government. The next steps for this is once adopted, the framework will be made publicly available. It will be on our CDC website. And we're also going to do a launch as such to all of our community organisations and people who have interest in our grants. Be a key resource at our annual funders forum, which we just held last month. And again, increasingly that event is increasing in numbers and interest, and it's a really good place for people to actually understand what the funds are for, and so that when they go to apply, they're either bang on the mark or they're wasting their time in terms of they haven't read the eligibility. So what that serves to do is save them time, save them their valuable community resources by not putting grants in or putting grants in that align to the funds. Just a note here is, and I didn't put this in the report, but full versions of the guidelines for funds such as Creative Communities and the Rural Travel Scheme will still sit on our website. Those documents are about 30 pages long, so hence the need for a consolidated version. So we will still have those wider, larger documents on the website. And I'm proposing that we review this annually. There are changes, and one of the changes, for example, is with our waste minimisation funding. MFE put out some changes this year, so it's valuable probably to review this annually and just make sure that we're still aligning with government legislation and the funds that we're administrating.
Great.
Any feedback, comments, questions?
Thanks, Bex.
That's
Right.
I have just a couple of, one question, we need to add a word, but I know you're going to be wordsmithing it still.
Yeah. So this is a final draft. There will be errors. Yeah, where's the word?
Oh, just page 22, and the eligible applicants. It's just missing a provide, here's provide, for organisations that may be based outside of the Wairarapa regional entities must provide evidence, and it's just missing, I'm guessing that the word provide is missing.
Must provide. Okay.
It's just got must evidence.
Okay.
At the moment. So-
That actually is grammatically correct. They must evidence that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It is.
I guess
Evidence, it can be a view.
Oh, don't change it.
You want
That's only me reading it then. Either or is right. Excellent. So we'll delete that question. My only other question was around, is there quite substantial changes, and I'm positive about these changes, just around that we're now including rent and wages and accommodation costs and so forth for people who apply for the grants? Because I thought the messaging that used to go out around our community grants was you couldn't use it for rent and wages and so forth.
Yeah, so when I was reading other council policies, they did include operational costs such as rent and wages, because obviously it's great to have funding for programs, but if you don't have the people to deliver the programs, it's pointless. So and organisations do struggle with the operational funding to house their staff, and so that was something that we discussed adding in and as a consideration. So
And often when without the wage project happening anyway, because you need to pay somebody to. Yeah.
I just found that, through you, Mr. Chair, I just found that quite a welcome addition, because there have been people who have specifically asked for grants to pay for rent and in the past, and they have been ineligible. Some of those voluntary organisations were struggling. And it's also, in terms of the wages, I mean, there's emphasis in their support for volunteers, and there's emphasis in support for a person to be paid to deliver a particular project. I think it's a welcome addition. Yeah. It's, so to the review team, good work.
Good work. Great look.
just to add to that query over the operational expenses. So one of the things that a document like this, our Smarty Grants platform, and some of the way we're wording our questions is it enables us to measure outcomes. And so it's really obvious that when somebody is writing an application, if they're just wanting basically a place to sit and do nothing from, we're now able to ask those questions that evidence that they are created, there's outcomes that benefit the community. And so the way that the whole community grants are structured now is outcomes based rather than we just need money to keep our doors open.
Yeah, thank you. I did pick up through there that you had done some comparative work with other councils' policies as well.
Yeah, so
aligned are we now across? And not that I'm emphasising we need to be exactly aligned with other councils, because I wouldn't like to align with other councils on everything they do.
No.
A degree of consistency is always comforting for the end user.
Yeah. So I read kind of like councils' policies. So Hastings, Tasman. I looked at. I did a comparison with the city. So I looked at Tauranga City Council, Auckland City Council. Whilst they're larger, much larger, and cities, they still have the same principles and eligibility. And so across the board, this is probably a good representation of what other councils are doing in regards to their financial policies with grants.
Councillor Lauren.
Just one small thing, and it's the same paragraph that Steve was looking at before. On page 22, it says organisations that may be based outside of the Wairarapa regional entities must evidence that they deliver services in the Carterton. What about organisations inside the Wairarapa but outside Carterton?
Yeah, that's a good point. So again, it's about seeing that evidence and the benefit of the community in Carterton.
Yeah.
And I think this came about because we have had quite a few organisations that are national entities that have their offices in Wellington, and some of those services we haven't heard or seen evidence of that benefit to our residents. So we can add that in there if that's not clear.
Well, it just seems Thinking of road safety council, that's what.
Yeah. So which, I'm just wondering if it's a different page on the agenda, which heading does it
I
come
was
to?
looking at a document, eligible applicants must. It says operate and be based in the Carterton district. And then it says organisations that may be based outside of the Wairarapa must evidence that they deliver services in the Carterton
Yeah.
district. So there's
So maybe if we just put
outside of Carterton.
outside of Carterton,
Yeah.
outside of the district.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah. I think it's reasonably obvious, but it does.
yeah, no, it's good to be really, really clear.
Any further questions? Discussion?
I think this is going to make a huge difference for people applying. A lot of work's gone up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bex. Really appreciate it.
Well done.
That'll work. So we've got 3 recommendations. I'm happy to take all 3 at once, but going by the conversation, we all seem to be very in favour. So I'm happy to move that 1, we receive the report. 2, we adopt the community grants and funding framework and policy, and 3, notes that minor editing and changes in formatting may occur prior to public release of the document. As we should. Seconder, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Bex.
Well done.
Very much.
Well done.
Okay, Carterton Council Climate Change Implementation Plan 2025-2026, and welcome to the table, Ricky.
Yeah. Very long way down. Thank you, everybody. My name is Ricky Arthing. I am the Climate Change Coordinator. I started about 2 months ago. And I was at the meeting where this committee passed or approved the strategy. That strategy has now been edited. It is up on the website. So those changes that were asked for. We also moved all the community consultation stuff to the back of the document. So you can actually read it as a more flowing document without all those and pieces. So that strategy has 3 organisational shifts, 3 objectives and 5 actions, and also indicated that there would be annual implementation plans. So what I've presented is the first of the implementation plans. So in that, in the first year, we're concentrating on the 2 organisational shifts, enhancing knowledge and understanding, and the organisational direction, and building a culture of change. And the idea is if we focus on those, it will take us a long way towards that objective 3, which says that as an organisation, council leads by example. This is about having confidence that we're operating and being credible in the community. The implementation plan is also a recognition that council staff have been very cognizant of climate change and the way that they've been operating. And it's been a journey, and they've been building it into the way that they operate. I've been really impressed with what I've seen. And so the areas that are being highlighted in the implementation plan have come from the council staff. These are the things that they are doing and what they are wanting to do. And it's also a good reflection on decisions that the committee and councillors have made in the past as well, because there's actually quite a lot of resilience built into a lot of the activities we do. The way I've been thinking about this is that we'll demonstrate our progress through our actual actions. And so what I'd like to do is to come back through the year and show how we're delivering against the actions. And that's evidence that we're actually making progress against the objectives of the strategy. We're also working on a strategy on a page. So rather than the 30-odd pages of strategy document that you all had to look through, we've synthesised that down to a 1-pager. Rena, are you able to show that page I sent through to you? It's still don't fuss too much.
Maybe.
But we're working on something like this. So
That's great.
we can actually see all in one place what we're trying to do. And we'll also do the annual implementation plans on a single page as well. So rather than wading through big documents, we have a reference document. The idea is to try and make it as simple as possible. And at the same time, you'll see in the implementation plan that we've been really cognizant that, you know, we're a small council with limited resources. So when opportunities come up, we grab them rather than doing something huge that's going to be resource intensive. So we're asking you to both as an introduction of a strategy and to endorse it for implementation.
It's coming.
Rather than be waving around the draft, you can should be able to see the near complete version up on the screen.
Thanks, Ricky. It was I think it's very good the way you're going about things. It's we do need to lead for our community to follow us, and I think we are doing well in that space. So yeah, let's continue. Your worship.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Look, I'm liking the simplification and firm believer that goals should be achievable and realistic. But my question is probably offline a tad, but it is comparatively, we have the Greater Wellington Regional Council's emissions reduction plan, and where they have defended their right to defended their own sovereignty in terms of policy making and their right to set goals and targets ahead of the government, ahead of Kyoto Protocol. Have you had a chance to have a look at that and the current government direction and where we are sitting? Because I've followed other leaders politically who have set aspirational goals. And then I set goals and targets, then turned them into aspirations, and then said, well, it was only
an aspiration.
And I don't want Carterton to be caught in that obscure space where it's having to justify an unachievable target. Can you just give us your view on where we've got regional council, central government and us, and where do we sit in that whole match on emissions reductions?
So as a council, we have to recognise the government's emissions reduction plan. So that's quite clear that we have a role to play in reducing emissions. The regional council as well, as you've noted, has they are as an organisation pursuing emissions reduction and wanting to be neutral as an organisation in their emissions. And so they're pursuing things like renewable energy, etc., as an organisation. You'll see in here that we haven't been bullish or overt around the emissions reduction. A lot of it is considering, as opportunities come up, the emissions, our carbon footprint related to that. You also see the sections around emissions reduction, which is saying we actually haven't done our emissions inventories for the last 6 years. 2021 is the last time we did it. I've started work on looking at the emissions inventories for 22 and 23. And with a little bit of luck, I'll have those in front of this committee before the election. But I also want to do an analysis saying, okay, how's this tracking? After that 6-year view, how's our progress looking? I can tell from the work I've done already on the 2022 inventory that there are some areas there where we're tracking in the right direction without a lot of fanfare. But there's some areas where we're going, hey, we need to have a closer look at this. And if we continue on this track, it's not going to look that great. We're lucky because of the forest that we have here, and we're using that as an basically saying that we're carbon negative. But when that forest gets harvested, we've got a problem because we can't count those anymore, and we've still got a carbon footprint. So we need to think about those things as part of the emissions. We're not, as I say, there's nothing in here which is us setting challenging targets at this stage. But I would like to come back once I've done that analysis on the inventories and have another discussion around our emissions and other issues.
And that might actually result in a policy decision around whether or not you harvest. And I mean, we have these conversations around carbon sinks that are never going to be harvested because of that very reason. But that's a fiscal as much as a climate change consideration, which the council will have to make in the next training.
Definitely. I think the first harvesting's looking to happen in about 2032.
Yeah.
And the current crop completed harvest by 2040. So we've got a little bit of time, but we are getting warmer as a district as well, and pine trees are a fire risk.
I was just going to say, I talked to so many farmers whose neighbours have just planted and all that, and they said it's a massive summer fire coming through, and there's no fire breaks, it'll just go right from one side to the other.
Yeah.
There'll be no harvesting.
So there's a balance that needs to be found.
It's mentioned that like we know, our wastewater treatment plant and so forth is our highest emitter. The changes that we're going to be making will make potentially.
It's probably too early to say. We're still evaluating options. So if I were talking just about the heatworks upgrade, yes, we're going to improve the process. What the impacts on greenhouse gases at this stage is probably unknown because we haven't decided on a solution yet. So one would think that it would be better because we would have more aerobic process, but that's really that would really be a guess at this stage.
Councillor Lawrence.
I'm very relieved to see this document. This council is not particularly bad, but there is a tendency in organisations to create strategies and put them in the drawer, and then worry about them in 5 years' time when they come up for review. So an implementation plan seems like a very good idea to me.
So you see on the screen there, that's the draft strategy on the page. It has the 3 shifts there and the objectives and the actions as well. Mainly as a reference document.
Read through it before, and it's really succinct.
It encourages people to read it.
Yeah, it's just the way it's laid out as well.
It's great.
Big shout out to the comms team. It's done really well.
And I heard it.
Online.
It's on there. No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Do we have any further questions or discussion? Ricky? Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate what you brought to the table. We do have, under the recommendations, do want to add in a recommendation, and we'll just change the numbers around. So I want to add in the one that we received the report, and then we'll change the one that's there to 2. that we adopt the climate change strategy 25-26 implementation plan. I'm going to move that. Councillor Cherry Campbell's happy to second that. All in favour?
Aye. No abstention. Again. Thank you.
Update on operational consents. Hey. Yeah, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'll take the report as read, but just a few highlights. The first highlight, we haven't had any significant developments since last meeting.
That's good.
When was the last time we did have a significant? Can't remember one.
Yeah, it's been a while, especially on the water intake consent renewal. We're still awaiting some stakeholder. But the other highlight would be that we are compliant in terms of the condition of the stream, so there are no adverse effects. So we have
Bathing in it didn't hurt us.
I'm talking about like
It's yet to flow down.
I would like to acknowledge that we have had no non-compliances.
Gee,
Yeah.
please continue.
Right.
Woodville had possums in years, didn't they?
No comment.
And we also started charging treated wastewater to Thursday, since the weather is favoring us, and also high flow rate. And in regards to landfill consent renewal, as I've said in the previous report, we have engaged with the consultant, but they'll take some time to get back to us. They need time. And in regards to the water rates concern, we have engaged a consultant again for aiding the application to do some ecological testing as well. But otherwise, everything else staying on the same page.
Questions for Dave?
I guess just a question about the Taratahi and Carterton water races in respect of the other things that council's considering doing. And restrictions during low flow and the amount of monitoring required. This is obviously an ongoing discussion with Greater Wellington Regional Council. Is there any suggestion that they may be looking at the amount of water that we're consented to take?
Yeah, that's what in progress. So it depends upon the information we provide to them. It's not there. We are not there yet.
No, we're not.
If I understand your question correctly, you are referring to, or you are asking whether they're suggesting that we get a reduced type. Am I correct?
Yeah.
With regards to the other project, the intention is to fill the project during winter, where there's less restrictions on how much we can take. But then further to this, I'm right to assume, yes. Please come to the table, Lawrence.
Yeah. So that is part of the engagement we're talking to the specialists with around the ecological effects. And it is balancing between, so the initial assessment showed that there wasn't any negative, or it's a less than minor effect from an ecological point of view. but it's balancing. We're taking 25% of the flow during the summer to the positive. During the assessment, they can't take, their explanation to me is they can't consider any positive effects until it gets to the hearing stage. They can only do it in terms of the negative effects on what the is on the river. It seems a bit perverse.
You can tell from the puzzled look.
Why? But that's where they, I don't know. That's their explanation in terms of just the way the policy's been written.
Their policy. Why don't they change their policy?
Because that's already gone through the hearing process around that, and that's what has come out. So we could have,
Did our Wairarapa councillor on the regional council say anything?
no, this is the natural resources plan.
Natural reserve. Okay.
Yeah, so that was that whole 10-year process of thing and the way it's sort of been come out of it. Yeah.
That's bizarre.
But anyway, so however we are engaging with that from an ecological point of view, it's positive, it's looking positive. We're obviously doing a little bit more work on that. And I think going back to the original sort of question in terms of reduction from our existing flows, the initial conversation doesn't seem like there is any real push to reduce those flows. So yeah, it seems like retention of the same ones, because they do recognise that there is a developed environmental, even though they can't, environmental or ecology within the water race network, which has a positive effect, even though they can't consider it. Yeah. So yeah.
So the natural and resources plan has added a few more complexities to.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in regards to, I'm thinking of time involved in these assessment of environmental effects reports. Is that putting more of a burden on council? How much of the report can be retained, the original report, into the new report, or is it practically a whole new report? And how much of a burden is that on us?
It's additional information from the existing report.
Those
So
new
basically,
data.
yeah.
When we do ecological testing, that's a new data. It will override the previous one, but we can compare it with the old one and new one. So definitely new data going in there. So, but not a whole new document as such.
Okay.
So it's a balancing between, we've done a few tests while they're going, we want to know what the whole network is doing, and we're going, that's not really, while trying to do selected sites so that it is representative of the 400 or 500 kilometres and the 40 or 50 different discharge points. So a balance between doing enough so that they get sufficient data that they're okay with what the effects are. And then we don't have a whole lot of extra consent conditions, which we have to do the next 10, 20 years at additional operating costs rather than right up front, which we can capitalise.
So whoever's assessing it from Greater Wellington Regional Council, they have a set of criteria that they are going through.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to have data in there to show that you are achieving that.
Yeah.
Is it just one person that assesses it? Or is it
they're using consultants. So
Greater Wellington are using consultants?
yes, yeah. So it's basically their experts, and it's 3 or 4 different experts that we're sort of talking to, and over a range of different your hydrological effects, ecological. Yeah, so it's a number of different people that we're sort of gathering information, and we've got 3 or 4 consultants that we've used in to provide the information as well. But it is a complex network, as well as trying to provide what evidence of what facts and that there are. It's not simple, and the rules have just made it more and more because we've commented about 40 or 50 different policy objectives and rules against because of the broad range that it is.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Appreciate that.
One question, this is just for my interest really. A macroinvertebrate, that's a big thing without a backbone? I mean, what are we talking about?
So
Can you give me an example, like is it a worm or?
so it's just not one species. There's a number of species that exist in waters. Even I was surprised to see when I tagged along with the sampling, and when they threw a little bit of water, and if you take a look at it, you'll see a number of organisms as such there, and they test it and see how good they are surviving this water.
Okay, so there's actually something you can see.
Yes, you can see it. I've got a picture.
You're not that bothered.
But once I saw them, because they're there everywhere, they hide in the stones and so and the sand in there.
So they're good things.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
That means there's life in it,
Yeah.
and small fishes feed on.
Thanks, Stu. Any further questions or discussion for Jake? We've got one recommendation, and that's that we've received the report. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gallen, and his worship the Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Jude.
Okay, waste management and minimisation update.
Kia ora koutou, Chair, Mayor, Councillors and staff.
Just providing you an update for the past months for waste minimization regarding the district. I think the report is right. You can see the waste summary. I'm pretty happy with the landfill graph slowly decreasing as we can look, but we are definitely moving forward with to see more degradation as we go ahead in the near future. Just some few important project updates. I remember in the last projects policy, some concerns has been raised for tire-wide scheme. Some questions has been asked. So I have prepared a comprehensive response to the general manager and to the chief executive. And this week we have received positive update. So the next step we are looking is to sign the contract and initiate the scheme at a transfer station. On the organics feasibility, so Tonkin and Taylor, all the three waste officers of IRAPA were collectively doing this feasibility. We are pretty happy with the work Tonkin Taylor is doing so far. We can expect to have a draft report by the end of the month, but given the long weekend can extend to a few weeks as well, but we are pretty happy. And in the next projects policy, we can definitely have a look at the official feasibility report of what they are trying to provide. And now the soft plastics bins at the New World. In the last projects policy, I did mention that New World has approved and has requested to do a trial for 2 months period. But from the packaging forums perspective, there was quite a few, what I would say, obstacles in the schematic of the things. And so we had a good discussion with the communications team at Carterton, and the upcoming July month is a plastic-free July. So we would like to celebrate the win at New World by installing the soft plastic bin in July. So that's something which we had discussed and really planning out as well. In the past few months and longer than that, we received quite a few considerate complaints from the contractors regarding the transfer station site pathway, which has been used by them to dump the clean fill and every other area because it was trying to affecting the vehicles and whatnot in terms of the potholes. So we had utilized, we had chip sealed the transfer station, and it's looking very tidy as usual after that as well. A very important update, which I really want to highlight here, is the government's new waste and resource efficiency strategy has some new implementations in terms of waste levy as well. So as you can read in the report, being a smaller council, we can expect that from the next financial year, we could have an approximate $100,000 more in terms of waste levy of what we are getting this year. That means for waste minimization initiatives and all the initiatives which comes under waste levy guidance, we have
full more range of activities and establishments that we can actually provide. So this is something which is very good for us, and we are looking forward to that as well. For the service request, Smart Environmental is again doing a very nice job. Every service request is been taken care of within 2 to 4 days. For the next steps, as I mentioned, the New World Soft Plastic Style would be there. And we had some good, very nice social media campaigns of waste education system with Waste with Kate Fenwick and other waste education also for the district. That will be coming soon as well. And you can see the pictures of the before and after I took at the transfer station. It looks very nice, and I'm very proud and happy with it as well. So yeah, I'm open for any questions that I have.
Thanks, Pete. A couple of questions. One is just around if the change in levies goes through, will the extra funding that becomes available to Carterton District Council, will you look to work with Ricky potentially to see how something might be able to be done in the climate space with waste?
As long as, so we do have a waste levy guideline, which we follow, that how the money can be spent and not. So this is I guess it's a discussion, and when we receive the money, if it falls under those guidelines, then why not?
Okay, very good. My second question was just around the, do we receive any information from Smart Environmental as to the amount of curbside recycling that doesn't get used, doesn't go through the recycling phase? It's found to be contaminated and it ends up going to Bonnie Glen. Do they provide those numbers?
They do. That's a very good point. They do provide. So we do have a monthly contracts report, contracts meeting at Masterton, where all the three waste officers and the contractor, we do discuss about the monthly tonnages and the issues. In that report, we do receive an approximate percentage of the contamination in the curbside, which is approximately 6 to 8, changes every month. But apart from that, I can request these details if you're asking to, and can provide a better update.
It's probably just trying to get a bit of an understanding of how much recycling is actually just going directly to Bonnie Glen, rather than just it's trying to tell the story out to the community. Look, you need to do a little bit better if
you're asking, sorry to interrupt, but you're asking, so what amount of tonnage or weightage of actual recycling, which should be recycled, is actually inevitably going to Bonnie Glen? Yeah. I can have this as a comment, and I can ask the contractor to provide any comment or.
That would be really great.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions for Saleesh?
So things are going great. The transformation, I've got to say that the transformation over this training and the way in which the transfer station's been operated, the way it works, the increased performance, it is just a light year ahead. And I was just rationalizing some photographs on a hard drive, and I came across a series of photographs that I've taken of the pit through the last two trienniums and this triennium, and the whole. Yeah, it's good work. It's you really should be complimented. You should feel proud of what you've achieved down there. And what I'm picking up, being rural, we take ours there, but it gives you the opportunity to watch people and to get into the conversations. And without a doubt, the conversations from people who are taking their own waste down there, very positive, very positive. So you should feel very proud of what you've achieved down there. I guess the only question I have, and it's probably in your patch, Mr. Chair, there's been recent announcements around trade waste and new processing capability. I'm just trying to Google it up right now. Initiatives that have just been announced. How are we looking at the trade waste space from through waste minimisation?
Yeah. Are we talking about trade waste?
Yeah, and
wastewater?
No, we're talking about trade waste in terms of
building materials.
Materials and the like of that. Was it Taron? Was it Taron?
Waste, yeah.
Yeah. Was it Taron? Yeah, construction and engineer, yeah.
Correct. So, if the trade weight scheme you're talking about, if it's related to the construction and demolition
Yeah.
waste.
Yeah.
So, currently our focus is to find out, certain sort of organizations and measures which is within the region in Wairarapa. So we
Yeah.
do have, quite a few substantial, conversations with, Bentley's Bargain at Marston. And at the same time, we are also looking to have a visit by the end of this month to go to Palmerston North to actually have a look at, I can't remember the name right now, but there's an organization there also deals with construction demolition waste, polystyrene, as well as the chip.
Yeah.
So we are all looking into that as a consideration as a wider region. So we had looked into Wairarapa, but we are also looking at the other regions as well. So we'll definitely have some answers and options for you, which is in the next. But yeah, it's in our radar.
Yeah, it's moving and it seems to all be moving in the right direction because clearly the rest of the country is also focused on it. Sure, I think it was Taron, and I'll find it and come back to this. Morning report, it was a Radio New Zealand report centre that's been opened up. And they're taking trade waste from other council areas, other TAs. But overall, great stuff, great report.
It's similar to what Carterton
Yeah.
City Council is setting up. I mean, they're going to be taking C&D from other councils
Yeah.
in the Wellington region. So that we're looking at Bentley's Bargains. We're looking at I'm going over to the team over to Palmerston North to have a look at the polystyrene and the recycling. So
It's all going in the right direction and
Yeah,
it
it's really
seems to
good.
have accelerated this train quite, spectacular. What else?
well, we do have things we need to achieve in our plan.
In the plan. Yeah.
So
And it's, apart from the environmental considerations, there's fairly significant financial considerations to the council, I think. So, well done.
Yeah.
we've got one recommendation, and that's that we received the report. We have a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Bruce. Councillor Gallen, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. 7.5, Water Operations Report.
I'll check the report as read. Basically, everything seems to be going smoothly. Going on the back of what Pete sort of said, we haven't had any significant sort of effects. But overall, if you draw your attention, there are a couple of points that I'll highlight. The wastewater, we did replace the grass in spring, and even with the amounts that's been taken out with the Manuka, that has shown almost double the volume or weight of grass that's been harvested. So all sort of removing it from the nitrate that's been to it. So that will be beneficial for carbon sort of credits. And also overall the average water usage is down, which I think is that leak detection that we did before spring is obviously having a beneficial effect. And happy to take any questions.
Very good.
Is there anything we know about the Manuka? Putting water on the Manuka there, like obviously it increase their growth.
We have.
Where does it go from there?
Yeah, we have had. We're waiting a report from ESR. They have come along a few times to do testing. They had their own sort of in-house, so that was to try to get a bit of a comparison between their controlled meter squared or whatever sample that they took compared to what had sort of been seen on the ground. Other than that, I haven't really had anything as such. They did, the controlled ones did show quite a difference in terms of the growth from just normal water to the wastewater. Yeah. We'll wait for the report.
Yeah. No, people have said to me, that something one of the things we tested. I said, I think it's down the track.
Yes.
We don't know yet, but it's.
Yeah. I think mainly they're looking at it from what the effects on the actual plants. They haven't looked at whether or not whether they harvest it. And,
is there any nutrient goes through with that, or is it get taken out, or?
Yeah, unsure.
That's part of the.
As I said, I think from what I can gather, we're still waiting for those answers.
Correct.
The other thing to consider as well is the primary focus of the irrigation areas to irrigate as much water as possible. And that's the other test for the Manuka, whether they're actually accepting to the volume of water that we need to apply
without overwatering.
Yes, so there's a few things to consider in that trial.
Probably also worth commenting that this year has been a little bit different with the nursery stepping up, which has taken probably the majority of the water that would have gone to irrigation.
Which is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence. Cool. I've just got a comment. I just wanted to make it just under your point, wastewater.
Yes.
And just for anyone who may have read the report, just the increase in the average daily flow. I just wanted to put that into perspective to show how well I think the council's doing in replacing some of our wastewater network to stop stormwater or groundwater infiltrating our network. Because back in March 2023, if you look at that figure there, we're talking it's gone up to 3,000 metre cube per day. Well, that's let's say 3 million litres per day.
Yep.
If you go back to March 2023, we had up to 19 million per day going through the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
So it was up to that. So just trying to put that into perspective, and that was through a lot of rain that we had, and I just think it shows how we're getting on top of things in lots of different areas. The waters team, and it's great to see.
Yeah, and it's probably worth noting that even though the replacement, the renewal along Lincoln was probably over budget, it does have that beneficial because it's less pumping and all the rest of it, and that we're treating. So it does have, even though, it costs more upstream in terms of the replacement, you will have that operational improvement.
Yeah. Very good. Any further discussion? We have one recommendation, that's that we received the report. I'm happy to move that. The second, Councillor Cherry Campbell, all in favour? Against? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. 7.6, wastewater treatment plant sludge removal project scope update.
Thank you, Chair. I will take the report as a read and just give a little bit of context of why we have this report. I've referenced the long-term plan and the infrastructure strategy of what we're trying to achieve with the desludging of the oxidation ponds. Now, even though what we're proposing in this is a lot in the report is aligned with those commentary, I just want there might have been an expectation that we remove all sludge, and that expectation can still be true. One of the challenges in speaking to other councils across the country is what you do with the sludge once you've removed it. And there's a lot of councils that has a stockpile of sludge on their property that they can't dispose of, or are disposing of at an extreme cost. So typically, once it's dried, it has to go to a landfill. we looked at various options of what to do with the sludge, and we had some expert advice. And working with Composting New Zealand, we believe that we have an option where we can go full cycle of taking it out, treating it, and then disposing of it without having to landfill it. And hence just the focusing of the scope of what we want to do with this budget is I've noted 3 different options of what we could do. What we're proposing to do is to take out enough sludge so that we could take it through the whole process and then get it validated and then dispose of it, so that we can have a proof of concept. A lot of the cost estimates are really just estimates, and we will see what it will be once you start digging into the sludge and how it responds, and whether it is actual, if we're able to compost or not. There's a lot of things that needs to come to light through this process. But at the end of it, we'll have some really factual figures where we can build a real business case. And then apart from the obvious advantage that we won't have a stockpile of sludge on our property, there's an added benefit in the future that we could be positioning ourselves to accept sludge from other councils that are currently dealing with that problem and not yet have the solution. So this is, from my point of view, this is an exciting opportunity for us. We've over past years has strategically positioned ourselves, not necessarily with this focus, but this aligns very much with what we've done on Matarawa Farm and the Dalton Farm. So it again, forward thinking has put us in this position to actually consider an option like this. So with that,
Thanks, Johannes. Questions for Johannes?
Straightforward, simple, sensible.
Yeah, go.
It's really good report for lay people to actually understand. Right.
thank you.
I think it's a fantastic way to get an understanding of how we can utilise the sludge, rather than let's just get in there and we dig all the sludge out of the pond and then we're trying to work out, right, what are we going to do with this crap? So we're talking about not crap, sludge.
Want to spade a spade?
Just say to you, Mr. Chair, and it's sort of my comments broader than this. What I'm loving is seeing the opportunity going forward for revenue generation. And it's here, it's with water, and it's with the nursery. And, you know, the one challenge that this council is going to have post local water done well is going to be revenue. And and what I see as a positioning and looking at opportunities and that advanced thinking, I don't know if I see much of it around. I haven't heard a lot of that conversation at Local Government New Zealand conferences. Certainly haven't heard it at Wellington Leadership Governance Committees.
Leadership Committee.
Yeah. So now just keep going, because I think he's in exactly the right space, looking at a problem, seeing how you can, one, solve the problem, but at the same time, turn it into an advantage and an opportunity. And it's innovative and taking a cautious step forward, a la option 1, really sensible to me.
Thank you. Because I remember some discussion about putting the stuff inside giant rubber bladders or something. This seems like, yes, better than that. I know this is outside your field, because I don't think you're a microbiologist, but can you talk about, you know, viruses and heavy metals and things and sludge and how the composting process might deal with that?
So I reckon I'll ask for Lawrence to come and assist me, because it is way outside of my
metals. Yeah.
Nothing to do with metallic.
So basically that goes back to the biosolids guidelines, which are just being updated, and that is one of the ones that Te Mata Rawai are coming out with. So yes, heavy metals is one of the considerations, and you do your analysis on your common metals within each sludge, and we have done some preliminary analysis. So we do have like elevated arsenic, I think was one, zinc and copper are usually quite because of zinc alum roofs and copper pipes and that sort of thing, which does work its way through the system. So that is part of, a lot of that is dilution, adding in your bulking material through the composting to make sure it's lower than that sort of acceptable levels. And when you apply it to land, that it's not building up within the soils. And then all your pathogens in that, you'll go through a testing in that to make sure it's been sitting there long enough, it's got up to the right temperature that it kills it. So there are a number of ways you can treat that. If you add chemicals to kill all those pathogens, or through the composting process, you get up to a temperature to kill it, and it's for a long enough time. So that's why it is easier for your geobags, your layers, because you just leave it there for years and years, so everything sort of just dies because it's not getting any food. But it does give you that problem that after 20 years, what do you do with it? Yeah. So that's where going through that composting process, you get it in. And if we achieve, you've got a number of different standards on your metals and your pathogens in terms of your vector reduction to achieve an AA, which underneath the PNRP, which is beneficial, we don't have to get a consent to apply it to land underneath certain conditions in terms of setback from waterways and that soils not too damp and that sort of thing. Follow that?
I can only see positives from this, and I look at it and it's, to me, going through this trial process, this option one, it aligns with the feasibility study we're doing with food waste collection, and it'll align with our organics and everything. I just, it's all going to, hopefully the stars will align and all this will come together, and the potential for us as a district could be massive in the end for creating our own composting plant.
Application, synergy with the nursery.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is one thing they do want is what you grow on it, making sure that it does get into the food chain, or there's sufficient linkages or break of linkages so that you reduce any sort of, but if you're achieving that AA, you're not going to get your pathogens, but it is that bioretention. So yeah, nursery would be a good sort of concept if you could actually apply it to improve the growth.
Yeah.
Because that is just soil and erosion control. So
you're getting good potential out of the nursery right now.
Yeah.
And
that additional,
potentially having available a ready supply of compost that is high grade.
Yep.
Could assist with that. So you'd explore that.
We would, so the primary focus will be disposal.
Yeah.
Secondary priority would be willingness to pay. So is there an appetite for somebody to purchase the compost? Because otherwise we could just dispose of it on our own land, or if we can't, if there's no willingness to pay, obviously we'll use it on the nursery or give it away to farmers, whoever needs it.
So there are a few around New Zealand that do market it. I know Palmerston North, New Plymouth, sorry, and
Taupo. I think Taupo.
But that is vermicomposting.
Yeah. Potential for fertilizer replacement?
Soil conditioning and fertilizer replacement, yes. Yeah.
So one of the big challenges, particularly for lifestylers, is the cost of fert and the economic viability of that, given it's a small holding. Yeah. So potential.
Definitely.
As a cheaper alternative, better alternative.
Yeah.
Keep looking.
But first we want to validate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Validate it.
Absolutely.
Then
No, no.
then I think there's a lot of opportunities on the other side of that.
Thanks, Lawrence.
I think this is pretty promising. I just want to throw a curly one in here, like there's words like mudfish and all this stuff. Aren't there a lot of eels in the water to start with? Are there eels in the oxidation ponds?
Are there eels in the oxidation ponds?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So we won't call them mudfish. But
No, they're
what are we going?
Fish are completely different.
What are we going to do with the eels?
Well, they're already there. You can't control where they're actually going. But in terms of the sludge,
So you
that'll
take the
be
sludge,
completely-
what are you going to do with the eels?
Typically when we clean the water races, the way that we take that out, the eels wiggle out, so they make their way out.
Yeah.
And I know we try and help them along. We haven't gone to that detail of what we're going to do with the eel or exactly what the color of the digger is that's going to do. So
as long as we don't have 20 people watching the eels, making sure that, paying 20 people to watch the eels get back in properly and all this,
You look quite close.
Yes.
we'll definitely make a note of that, and we'll consider the eels.
or just don't mention them.
Well, you
We
just
all
love
like-
it.
Yeah.
Meeting. Steve?
We'll call them mudfish.
Don't call them.
So there's an argument to leave it there'd be good reason to leave an element of sludge in the bottom.
Yeah, so in my report, you would see that I've gone very intentionally said we'll remove most of the sludge. You'll never remove all of the sludge.
Yeah.
So it's highly likely. And then with this option, we'll only extract a portion of the sludge. If there's any eels in that, we'll probably just throw them back.
And I think too, Johannes has just said, just to appease you and put your mind at rest, Mr. Gallen, that having the experience of cleaning the water races and not having any problems with eels with that, I think they're very experienced in how to manage the eels.
They've got their natural instincts. They'll be moving away from the digger when it's sort of operating as well. So.
I think Marston had a bit of a problem at one stage,
Mention the war.
We're Carterton.
we're sensible.
It's amazing the eels can live in that crap. Anyway, the recommendations are that we receive the report and we endorse officers' preferred option, namely proceeding with option 1, trial of the full process cycle. I'm happy to move both of those, and Councillor Cherry was happy to second it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, Lou. I see you nodding. Right, next.
So
we have major projects update.
I'll impersonate Christu again. So thank you, Chair. I'll take the reports read and then just give a brief update on our projects. Obviously, in the financial year, I think one thing that we're very, very happy with is that we've started all the projects that's in our long-term plan. We've intentionally deferred the start of the procurement process for the headwork, but that has started now, and we're reporting on that in the CE's report. But that's a great outcome for our team to be able to start all the major projects and show really good progress on that. We'll start with the Wainawa process water project. They're still going on and still aiming to complete the project by the end of July. Auditor Stevens is making good progress on the pump station, and GNC diggers are being ahead with the installation of the reticulation up to Martinborough Transport. So all out, that's going well. Normal contractual challenges, but nothing out of the ordinary. Flat Point, very excited that that's been completed and tested by some good weather. But the best outcome yet, or a good outcome is that we've been successful in reallocating some of the funding of the savings to be applied to the Mangaterere flood study or flood works. We received that feedback last week Friday. We've been in touch with Greater Wellington and received confirmation yesterday. So we are aligning so that we can utilize that budget to do something useful that will add value in the future. So trying to work within the deadlines from put on us, but then also make the best use of money that's available. In terms of the Brooklyn Road renewal, that's going really well. The water burst that we had a month or so ago on High Street highlighted why it's so important to renew our water mains. We've got a lot of water, as any other council, we've got a lot of water main that's past useful life, and it's critical that we renew and replace our water main. So again, similar to the work that we've done on the wastewater main on Lincoln Road and Taverner over the last 2 years, this renewal piece is quite significant for us. Just back to the water operations report and the increase in cost on, or not the increase, the high cost of addressing water leaks on State Highway. Our standard operating procedure now is that when we renew, we put in a rider main, so that when we have to address a leak, that we're not in the live lane, but we're off the road. So we've done that last year on the High Street North, and we're doing it on Brooklyn Road. And the next piece in the Forward Works program is we'll be coming up High Street and installing rider mains where it hasn't been done in the past as part of the plan. We have installed the new ablution block for the depot, the operations depot. I think they're putting in power today, and then there's a few bits and pieces to go. The Frederick Street plant upgrade is also we're very happy about that. We're going to have a significant saving from the budget that was in the LTP. The treatment mechanism's already been purchased in our shed. We've now received our building consent for the extension of the building, and construction will start any day now. So the major projects are going really well. We're delivering, we're staying on budget, and yes, making good progress, and the relationships are strong with all the suppliers. We're looking forward to providing the committee an update on the wastewater heatworks tender that's currently out. You'll see that'll be, like I mentioned, that'll be in the CE's report. But I'm very excited with the quality of responses that we've got back for that tender. So, any questions? Yes, sir.
Page 80, you got stone debris in the pipe. What's the story of that? I wasn't sure what's happening.
That's just part of the QA quality assurance sign off. We put a CCTV camera on and just have a look at just the quality of the work that's been completed to pick up anything like that. So that debris could have been from construction, but because it's an open line, it could be coming from somewhere else as well. So
It's got down to there.
it could, yeah. So I would say because of the controls within the contract, I would suspect it's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's part of the quality assurance, and we are working through that.
Yeah, same page. So good to see the savings of 102K on sewage network. That's highlighted there. That's your final cost?
I believe so, yes.
Great, excellent work. Give me what do you estimate the Wainau process water project will finally come in? That's That's considerably lower than the total budget.
So these are cost up until, that would be up until the end of May, with a lot of work happening in June, July. My understanding in discussions with Christo is that we would land it very close to that budget. It will be a few $1,000s over or under. It will be very close. We've over the period, so in that budget there was a contingency. As we've progressed in the contract, there's overs and unders, some things that we achieve a little bit cheaper or things that we haven't really thought about. But so managing that contingency and to where we're currently standing, I'm pretty confident we're going to land it very close to that budget.
Okay, so there's two reasons for asking. Is one, we borrowed more money to make up for other people pulling out of the project. So any savings would have been helpful to Carterton's budget. And the second thing is, what was the size of the contingency contribution in there?
From the top of my head, I believe we had, I reckon it was 20% was part of that. It would not have been higher than that. I think it was between 10 or 20, just from the top of my head, that we allowed for. And that's pretty normal for construction.
So what was the main reason for using it?
Things like just the pipe work around the old tank. That was quite a difference, where the existing attachments were quite different. Let me say, it's not the way how you would do things today. The way that the pipe work went into the existing tanks, there was some more tree removal required. There was some extra cost on just the power supply to the area. That's just from the top of my head.
Okay, so learnings from that going to be helpful for the next project, because if those factors weren't identified in the original estimates, then that's caused you to burn the 20%. Yeah,
I think when we repurposing old assets, there's always unknowns in there. I think once we've there's obviously learnings in this that will be applicable. But the big thing is we'll have a brand new design that consider everything from scratch. There's also when we went out to the market, we haven't completed, or when we set the budget, we haven't completed the design for the pump station yet. We haven't gone out to the market for tender. So there's things like that until you've done it, you wouldn't know the exact cost.
Yeah.
And that's why you have those contingencies.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
Any further questions or discussion? I'd just like to pass on to.
Sorry, we're getting close to 2 hours.
I'd just like you to pass on to Christo, just my thanks, and I guess the committee's thanks just for how things are progressing. I think things are going really great with the projects that council are working through at the moment. So yeah, very, very positive. So please pass it on. We have one recommendation, that's that we received the report. Sorry. One more.
I'm just a miserable prick, I know, but I'm looking at this picture here, and there's a block of concrete. Is it bloody?
What page do you want?
Page 84.
There's
a concrete pump truck there. Why the hell is it there? They have chutes on the back of these concrete trucks that can reach that. Why would you put a truck there?
Steve, operations governance.
You can't drive over the other side of it until you pull there.
So if I can comment, when we specify what we specify the outcome, and we ask the contractors to provide us a price for delivering the outcome. We mostly try not to specify or define how they're doing it, because one, we would exclude some suppliers then from being able to provide a quote, and two, we might miss out on ways of doing it cheaper. What I've learned is sometimes something like this that might look like it's more expensive. What I've learned from my experience from South Africa to here, over there we do build roads totally different to here. If we were, and one would think it's much cheaper over there, if we were to build it in the same way in New Zealand, it would be more expensive for various reasons. But I think the principle is we define outcomes, and then we employ the right people to deliver those, and try not to over specify if we can help it.
I'd just like to accept that. I find it just overspent. I just don't think that truck should be there.
I've got to agree with Johannes on this, that you go out to a contract, or you put a tender out there, they put a price and council accepts it. If they choose to use a pump truck as part of that pricing, it's up to them. If they don't want their guys barrowing or whatever, I mean, that's up to them.
It's on the back of the truck, they don't need.
Yeah, but it won't reach all the way across there. But anyway, that's another story. Look, we've got one recommendation. That's that we received the report. I'm happy to move that. We have a second. Thanks, His Worship. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Welcome, Councillor Della.
Just in time for morning tea.
That's good. We accepted your apology, but welcome to the meeting anyway. Yeah. We're going to take a 15-minute adjournment. We have our volunteer celebration out in the foyer of the event centre, and we would like to join them. And they have been waiting for 20 minutes or so. So we're just going to take an adjournment, and we'll be back at, let's say, 11:10. So thank you.
Yeah, it's about. Yeah.